All right, we're gonna wait a couple of minutes for more people to join. But right now it is December 1st, Wednesday. It is after the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend. I hope that everyone here, if you're in the US, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Anywhere else in the world, I hope that you had a strong Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. Before we actually get into this, I wanted to talk about that. I know that I think that this Black Friday and Cyber Monday was a little bit weaker in general than past years. I think that, from our understanding, it's a combination of more folks starting the holiday sales season, starting holiday shopping earlier, especially in the US, because of all the concerns about supply chain logistic disruptions causing out of stock in the US. So I do think this Black Friday was a little bit weaker than everyone, but than most years. But I do think that things are starting to look up again after the weekend, and I hope everyone has a strong rest of the holiday season sales. All right, yeah, so we can just go ahead and get started. Everyone here, if you have any questions at all, just feel free to comment below and I'll make sure to address it. So the topic today is going to be just some general shipping updates, and actually we're going to talk about looking ahead for Chinese New Year's 2022, which is going to be very important as well. Now, as usual, if anyone wants to get these notes, just comment notes below in the comments to get this document. And anyone has any questions live, please comment below as well, and I will try to answer them. All right, so first, let's talk about what's probably on a lot of folks' minds still is shipping prices increases. There have been a little bit more increases recently, and prices always increase in Q4 because of higher demand and higher air freight costs. Currently, some prices right now, especially to the US, using UniExpress Express services, are roughly as high as back when there were just the extreme price increases during the peak COVID period as well. So this is not good. This is obviously not great news. And unfortunately, this is something that we don't know this for sure, but I think that it is probably wise to expect maybe one, even two more increases throughout the rest of the Q4 until the holiday sales season is over. Now, unfortunately, no one really knows what the increases might be. Airfreight is increasing prices, sometimes on a daily basis. And really the biggest driver of this, especially in the US, is because there was that period where sea freight was really, really expensive, and a lot of retailers weren't able to get their goods out in time, and they became out of stock, and now they're trying to get goods into the US to stock in any way possible, and now that means air freight. So that's why air freight prices have been increasing, and that drives all of direct fulfillment prices up as well from China. And unfortunately, we don't exactly know when this is going to end, but we do expect that probably after the holiday sales season is over in late December or early January, it is going to start getting better. All right, so what this means for you, assuming you actually fulfill from China, if you're not working with us, make sure to check your supplier for updated costs. I think that sometimes I hear a lot about folks who get surprised by updated costs like way after the fact. So to get ahead of it, I think that make sure to check your supplier what the updated costs might be, what there have been some recent price increases. Make sure to check our group and this webinar as well. Through the next couple of weeks, if there are additional increases, I'll make sure to keep everyone updated. Make sure you have still enough margin to account for at least another increase, because otherwise, like if you're running close to break even right now and you really want to get stuff out in time for Christmas, we'll talk about later, you really want to make sure you have enough margin so that you won't have a situation where you have like a day or 2 days worth of orders where you're running close to break even and prices increase and you're actually losing money on those orders. And make sure you plan your supply chain for scaling as well if you're still scaling through the next 2 weeks, because if you're out of stock and have to delay, and you could actually be facing the higher price increases during that time, even after the orders actually came in. Now, one point that I really want to make here is we've seen some suppliers offering cheaper shipping options. Like for example, Yanwen is a very common one that we see. Yes, it is a bit cheaper than UniExpress. However, it seems like there is a somewhat of an incorrect perception that Yanwen is actually pretty similar to Unixpress. We actually heard this from a bunch of different folks recently. They say that Yanwen is cheaper. Other people say it's pretty much the same speed as Unixpress, maybe just one day, for example, slower. That is absolutely not true. Yanwen is on average, I'd say at least 5 days or so slower. However, the biggest issue is that they tend to be really inconsistent on the extreme end. So you're going to have a higher rate of when stuff gets just stuck for 30 days, 40 days sometimes. You're going to have a higher rate of when things just get lost, which is going to be a huge issue during this Q4 sales season. So Yanwen is usually something that we don't really recommend using because it's just not very consistent, but particularly doing Q4 peak season, this is something that I just don't really think it's worth it for the price. It is much less consistent, so please do not believe that Yanwen is as consistent as Unixpress, because it is absolutely not. Now obviously, look, if you're not really worrying about shipping times, if you're okay with 10 to 25 or 30-day shipping times, you're not worried about Christmas delivery, you just want to keep your costs as low as possible, then maybe this is an option. But the thing is, I just don't think it's worth it, because these days for consumers, they're okay with waiting 1 to 2 weeks for an order, but waiting up to 30 days consistently, that's going to cause you a lot of issues with customer service and refunds and chargebacks. So, I really suggest that you really want to avoid using a cheaper shipping line like Yanwen. Now, however, it will get better soon. Last year, as an example, last year, remember, was obviously the year of the significant COVID issues. Last year, prices started decreasing. I think actually exactly on December 31st, or just roughly around that time. There was a smallish decrease around this time, and there was a major decrease in mid-January, and they continued to decrease through the year and through Q1. So this is something that I can't promise you that this is exactly the date that is going to decrease. It might be earlier, it might be later. It all depends on market conditions. However, just keep in mind that these Q4 prices are not going to last forever. They are going to decrease at some point, and very likely they're going to decrease significantly going through Q1, but we just don't know exactly when that's going to be. Now, on that point, is I've been talking to a lot of folks, and there are some folks who are selling heavier products, lower margin products, that the higher shipping costs just really don't really make sense for them anymore. And look, if you can't market profitably, there's really no point, right? If you can take advantage of Q4 profitably, then scale to the moon. Definitely do it. However, if you're in a situation where the shipping cost makes it so that you can't really scale up, you might just have to skip, this sales season, which is only going to last a couple of weeks anyways. If you have confidence in your product, if it worked well before Q4, if it's a evergreen product, especially if it's a little bit heavier and therefore costs are very high right now, it is really not a bad idea. And I'd say it's a good idea even to wait until Q1 to scale up again, right? If your margins can't handle current prices. And the other thing is, just a little bit on the marketing side as well. Just generally speaking, and I hear a lot from folks as well, CPMs are really high right now. They're always high during Black Friday and Q4 sales season. So the combination of high CPMs and also high COGS just really squeezes everyone here. And the math, many times, especially if you have a heavier product, it's just not going to really work out. So it's only a couple of weeks left until the end of Q4. If your product is not particularly a Christmas product, then it's really not a bad idea at all, and maybe a good idea just to really wait until Q1 to scale up again, wait until the COGS start decreasing. And Q1, this is something that happens every single year. After the Christmas sales season is over, CPMs are a lot lower. And I think that this is something that it depends on the product, obviously. If your product is obviously a Christmas product, then maybe it's not going to work in Q1, but I think that a lot of folks, if you haven't experienced the Q4 to Q1 difference, Q1 many times can actually be more profitable than Q4 because of these reasons, right? Lower CPMs and lower COGS as well. Hey, James, how's it going? James, anyone else have terrible sales today? Thinking about turning my ads off for a while. Yeah, I mean, I think that I'll address that actually. It's this time of the year is always kind of crazy. CPMs are crazy. And I think that this is something that you're going to have a huge variation in terms of your ad performance sometimes this year around this time of the year. So we have actually seen some other clients have a lot of just volatile performance over this past week or so. Keep in mind as well, though, is that it's right after Black Friday. Right now it's Wednesday. So there tends to be sometimes kind of a hangover from the Black Friday shopping period. Traditionally, like, well, after Cyber Monday, which is Tuesday, traditionally like Tuesday can be a little bit bad because of that Cyber Monday sale hangover. But typically starting from now onto the rest of the remainder of the holiday sales season, typically we do actually see performance getting better. But that's just from past experience. Obviously, this year is going to be, well, every year is going to be a little bit different. All right, so that's it for the price increase updates. We're going to go into Christmas cutoffs, a review of the updates there. If anyone has any questions, please make sure to comment below as well. All right, so I'm going to have this link here in here. So again, if you need these notes, just comment notes below and you get this document and this link here if you don't have it. For those who've seen this last time and have this is actually a live document. So if you have this document already, this is going to be updated, especially for current clients. So I'm not going to go through this whole document. If you want the details of this, I actually had a webinar last week that went through all of this. So check out my webinar from last Wednesday. And this is where I go over all of the details of how we calculated this. But right now we'll just kind of go over the quick updates actually. So the good news actually in terms of shipping times is nothing has really changed really significantly. We actually just did this analysis just yesterday and updated today. There is really no tangible difference from the recent data. Some of these countries might just be like, one day difference, like sometimes slower, sometimes faster. However, no notable tangible difference now. So if you're a client or if you have this document already, just assume that these estimated Christmas cutoffs are still going to be reasonable. Now, remember, when we estimated these Christmas cutoffs, we actually added anywhere between 3 to 5+ days of buffer time just to be safe. The reason why we added that is because this is all just past data from the last month or so, which obviously means as we get closer to peak season, we do expect a chance that some of these countries, some of these lines are going to be a little bit less consistent than previously. So this is kind of backwards looking data. So we do add a buffer. So this is, I believe, a relatively conservative estimate of the estimated Christmas cutoffs. But I want to remind everyone, this is the date that we ship out from China, from Shenzhen. All right. So this is not the date that your customers place their orders. So you want to manage that Christmas cutoff, like actual order date accordingly as well. You want to make sure that you have enough stock to actually send out during this time. And I think that you want to make sure that you actually manage your customers correctly as well in terms of guaranteeing Christmas delivery or not. And again, this is us shipping from Shenzhen with our process. Now, if your supplier is not based in Shenzhen, if your supplier is not exactly us, I'm not exactly sure this is going to be completely valid. So you should definitely talk to your supplier about what their dates might be. And just kind of glancing through, you'll see that some countries, unfortunately, the estimated suggested cutoff has already passed. Australia, for example, Italy regular, for example. However, for the good majority of these countries, US, UK, Germany, France, especially for the express lines, we actually still have quite a bit of room, at least a week left before the estimated cutoffs as well. So this is something that if you do have stock, for these countries, you can definitely start scaling up or continue to scale for Christmas sales and guarantee Christmas delivery through the weekend as well. But again, depends on your own risk appetite. Obviously, these are just suggested cutoffs. These are not guarantees, and anything can really happen during this period. And the other note that I want to remind everyone is in Shopify, you are able to actually set different shipping zones for different countries and actually name them differently. So you can actually separate out different countries that you're targeting. And say for example, UK is always very fast, and you could be able to say, hey, UK, we have guaranteed Christmas delivery, standard shipping, whatever. However, for some other countries that are slower, for example, in Australia, now you might want to say either may not arrive in time for Christmas, or just set a date range so that reasonably speaking, people wouldn't expect it in time for Christmas anyways. All right, so I'm not going to go through all of this. Again, if you want more details on this, there was a webinar that we had last week. So check out that and read this document. And if you want these notes, you don't have it, again, comment notes below and Camilla will send it to you. James started learning Google Ads to try and get away from relying on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, I think that we have a lot of clients seeing a lot of success with Google Ads. One thing to note about Google Ads is that for most products, it's probably a little bit more of a middle or bottom of the funnel type of strategy. For a lot of products that are more focused on impulse purchases, for example, that are more demand driven as opposed to intent driven. People aren't necessarily searching for your specific product on Google, for example, and finding those ads. That's where it might be a little bit more difficult to scale by itself. However, the combination of a top of the funnel channel like Facebook, for example, and Google at the bottom of the funnel tends to actually work very, very well. And James, if you haven't tried already, we've heard a lot of client success with TikTok. Actually, I think that not giving your product away, I think your product would actually work really, really well on TikTok. The only thing about TikTok is we've heard is that it tends to have great performance, but the creatives tend to die out very quickly. So you just always have to constantly make sure that you have new creatives to push your ad campaigns. I mean, just knowing how TikTok works, it's very short form, somewhat low attention spans of its users. So it definitely can work, I think, especially for a product like yours, James. But you do just want to be aware that it does work differently for Facebook. You just have to constantly plan for creatives to push out. All right, so now we're going to start looking ahead. Now, I know this is a little bit early, but we always like to plan as early as possible. And we're going to look ahead towards Chinese New Year's of next year. Now, I am going to actually work on a much more detailed guide on this and actually include it in our free course as well to come the next 1 to 2 weeks or so. I might actually do it in the next week's webinar, depending on if there are more important updates. But at the very least, I should be able to do it in 2 weeks or so. But as a heads up right now, unfortunately, this year, Chinese New Year's is quite early. It ranges every year. Actually, it'd be interesting to actually see what the ranges are. But anyways, Chinese New Year's does range every single year. So I actually have a chart here. So for example, you see here, it ranges anywhere from, the end of January, which is quite early, to as late as mid-February, even sometimes mid-late February sometimes. It depends on the lunar cycle. So relatively speaking, February 1st is actually quite early for Chinese New Year's. Now, what does this mean? For those who haven't experienced Chinese New Year's before, logistics, couriers, fulfillment, Unit Express, they take roughly 10 calendar days off. Now, the exact dates are always kind of in flux, but it's roughly 10 days around this time, maybe 4 or 5 days before and 4 or 5 days after or so, which is really actually not too bad if you pre-stock and use fast shipping. methods. Because I mean, if you think about it this way, like if you're using something like Unixpress Express lines, that's taking roughly something like, let me see what the Express lines are taking actually. Unixpress to the US is taking between 6 to 10 calendar days right now. That might even get faster actually in Q1 after Q4 is over. If you just add 10 days to that, 10 days off, then that turns into 16 to 20 days, right? So obviously it is still quite a bit. However, for those of you who might remember using AliExpress or using just not great shipping methods or e-packet, it's actually still not bad at all. But obviously you want to be able to communicate with your customers that there might be production delays and things are going out a little bit slower. So the logistics part is actually not that bad if you pre-stock and use these fast shipping methods. The biggest issue though is that factories take much longer off, and it depends on the factory. Some factories, they might just take 10 days or 15 days off, but sometimes factories, they might take anywhere from 20 to 40 days off. Some factories, like just given Chinese New Year's time, they start taking off, let's say, as early as 1st of January. All right, so some factories, they just, maybe they just don't have that much business to deal with in Q1, but they could take off as early as 1st of January, which obviously creates a little bit of issue for you, right? Because you obviously want to pre-stock to make sure that you can plan around this time. However, if your factory is actually closing as early January, then this is where you have a little bit of a tough time, because Q1 sales tend to get strong again. But between Christmas and New Year's, for those who experienced it before, that does tend to be a very slow period. Christmas sales are over, people are on vacation, they're with their families. So this is a time where you're not going to be very, very confident about your order volume or your marketing performance in Q1, because just not a lot of people are purchasing, and your marketing performance is going to probably be pretty poor, and you probably should be not scaling up during this time, which creates an issue of, if your factory is closing early, you have to plan potentially earlier than you have confidence in your marketing performance. But anyway, so planning ahead, if you do want to actually pre-stock and make sure that your delay is as low as possible, work with your suppliers to understand when your factories are taking their last orders. I'd say that probably start reaching out to them now, to be honest. Now or within the next week or two, if you have a brand that you're scaling up, if you want to continue to scale consistently through Chinese New Year's, or at least have consistent volume through Chinese New Year's, start reaching out to your suppliers soon. Have them start reaching out to your factories and confirm the times that your factories are actually off. Estimate your potential order volume over the period that your factories are off. So for example, if your factory is off 30 days, and you're targeting, I don't know, 50 orders per day, then that's what, 1,500 units that you might want to pre-stock, so that your fulfillment partner can continue to fulfill your orders even through that period. Pre-stock as early, like you really want to do as early as possible, because when your factories are taking last orders, I mean, they're literally taking last orders and shutting down, right? That does not mean that if your factory closes, for example, on January 5th, it does not mean that you can just make a decision to make an order on January 5th. Most likely that is going to be the last shipment that they actually ship out. So you might have to plan ahead in early January or late December as well. So, work with your suppliers, work with your factories, and just pre-stock as early as possible. And during the Chinese New Year period, have your supplier hold the stock, and before the logistics holidays, fulfill to the last day possible, and then start fulfilling the first day the logistics are back. And that's how you only get roughly a 10-day delay. And actually, if you think about it, this 10 days is actually not too bad, because really it's only going to be the orders that actually come in the first couple days, the first half of Chinese New Year's, that has the worst delays. The orders, for example, 5 days in, like those are just going to get like 5 days delays, actually, really. And even during normal times, a lot of times, like if your supplier is not planning stock, effectively, sometimes you're going to get 3 to 5 day processing time anyway. So it's really not that bad, but make sure they actually do this. They're able to hold stock and fulfill it to the last day possible. One other point is during this time, plan around your stock levels instead of marketing performance. All right. So I think that, this is a case where, especially if you're used to more drop shipping or, kind of what we do, which is not exactly drop shipping, but we actually hold stock for you, but we get regular stock based on your marketing performance. This is a time, obviously, you're going to have a set stock level, right? You only planned for 500 or 2,000 units during this entire period. So you're going to have a taste of how physical, all the pains of inventory planning that came before drop shipping actually made it a lot more flexible. So during this time, you want to make sure to understand, well, try to get a estimate of your potential order volume. Obviously, you want to consider how much risk you want to be taking and how confident you are. But once you have that plan and that stock ready, do not just keep scaling, right? If you have 500 units planned and all of a sudden like your ROAS is amazing and you sell 200 a day, that's only 2.5 days, right? And you're going to run out and you're going to have no more for the next 10 days or 20 days or whenever your factory is back again. So make sure you plan around your stock level. What we see what we do see happen every year during this period when we hold stock for our clients is that sometimes like they just have amazing performance and they want to scale up, but there's no stock. But hey, as everyone knows here, is that usually as you scale up, typically your ROAS dips as you scale up aggressively anyway. So this is a period where you might just want to relax a little bit. If you have amazing ROAS, just enjoy it and just work around your stock level, and so that you can fulfill efficiently, and you're going to be more profitable on a unit basis anyways. All right. And then obviously you can blow it out of the gate after Chinese New Year's is over, and you can start stocking again. And then the other point, by the way, is that if you're not confident, if you're not confident in your product, just went down. Honestly, I think that if you don't really know how well your product is going to do by the time that you need to make a decision, let me just mention that as well. All right, so say your factory is closing January 1st. That's probably an extreme situation, but it happens sometimes. They're closing January 1st. You did pretty good sales this Q4, but after Christmas, like everything dies down, and there's no fault to your product, obviously, or your marketing. It's just it's really slow between Christmas to New Year's Eve. During that time, you have no idea how well this product is going to do in Q1. Maybe you've only sold it in Q3 or Q4. And to get enough stock to maintain a decent amount of volume, you have to put down like 2,000 units, which might be thousands of dollars or maybe tens of thousands of dollars, right? I would honestly say that for your sake, us suppliers would love to take your business, but for your sake, if you don't have confidence, just ramp down, pause your ads. Because it's just not worth taking the risk if you don't have that confidence. However, the counterpoint of that is if things are going well, it's a big shame to scale down, turn off ads. All right. So the counterpoint of that is everyone obviously knows that with Facebook ads, Facebook campaigns, if you have a very, very strong performing campaign, you probably don't want to just turn it off and, or scale down too much, because like, who knows, maybe after Chinese New Year's, you have no idea what the performance is going to be. It resets the learning period, and you're obviously not making money through this period, right? So this is the reason why that if you can plan around these 10 days off, you can plan around the factory's time off. If I really suggest that if you are confident your product is doing well, then just plan accordingly and try to continue to run ads through that period, even if it is just, just steady spend, you're not really scaling up, to at least make sure that your ads just don't like get knocked out of or get knocked back into learning period. And you're essentially starting from square one in terms of optimization as well. All right, so this one is a little bit short today. I think that we got through everything. Again, if you guys want any of these notes, make sure to comment notes below, and Camilla is going to be able to send it to you. And by the way, if anyone has any questions, make sure to send it here in the last couple of minutes, and I'll make sure to answer them. And then on Chinese New Year's, again, I'm talking about this a little bit early, but Chinese New Year's is relatively early today. So sorry, relatively early this year. I am actually working on a more detailed guide on how to plan around Chinese New Year's that I will release in a webinar either in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So please look out for that. Look out in our groups for an announcement for that, because that's something that's going to be really, really important for you to plan around going into next year. All right, so if anyone has any questions, again, please post it here. Otherwise, this is December 1st. We still have a couple weeks into Christmas sales. I do want to reiterate, by the way, that even though we just talked about the Christmas cutoffs, we see just all the time, a lot of clients continue to see very, very strong sales, even to December 22nd, December 23rd, even if it's not going to arrive in time for Christmas. People are just kind of in that shopping mood around that period. They might be buying gifts for themselves that they can just get after Christmas, or they might just be getting stuff, from the family. I mean, it's like, don't just think that after Christmas cutoffs, your sales are going to completely tank. They might not do quite as well, but still, don't necessarily just assume that. So hopefully that everyone here has continue to have a great sales season through the rest of the year. Hopefully the shipping prices increases don't affect you that much. If they do, again, it's not a bad idea to scale down a bit and wait until Q1 when everything starts getting better. All right, great. Well, thank you guys. Again, this is Dai from EcommOps. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you have any more questions, comment below and I can address them after the fact. And good luck with the sales season, everyone. All right, bye.